What's up everyone, TylerMedeiros here and welcome to TylerMedeirosTV. For those of you who are not subscribed, you can subscribe down below so you don't miss a video, and for those of you that are, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be getting into a really interesting mystery that you guys may or may not have heard before. But before we do, if you're not following me on my social medias like Instagram and Twitter, you could go ahead and do that now. You can follow me on Instagram at @TheRealTylerMedeiros and on Twitter at TylerMedeiros. But alright guys, let's get into today's video, and what we're going to be talking about had a lot of people guessing about what really happened. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. The story starts with just a normal day in 1955, where a flight was set to take off from New York and land just hours later in Miami, Florida. What no one expected is that this plane would disappear without a trace and would reappear multiple years later. As Flight Pan-Am 914 would get ready to take off, 57 passengers boarded the plane, stowing their bags away and taking their seats, preparing for their flight to sunny Miami, Florida. Once everyone was settled and buckled in, radio control gave Flight Pan-Am 914 the go-ahead to make its way to the runway and prepare for takeoff. Minutes later, the plane made its way down the runway and began its ascent into the sky. Little did they know the plane would disappear for 37 years along its way to Miami and reappear nowhere near the designated path they were meant to travel. At some point along their flight path, Flight Pan-Am 914 was no longer able to be tracked on radar, which began to concern air traffic control. With Pan Am Flight 914 no longer on radar, air traffic control tried making communication with the pilots over the flight's radio. After multiple attempts to contact the pilots, air traffic control was still not able to make communication, and the plane was still unlocated on the radar. After not being able to locate the plane on radar and not being able to establish communication, they thought the worst. After years went by with no answers and no evidence of what could have happened to the plane, many people were left with so many questions. 37 years after the disappearance of Flight Pan-Am 914, air traffic control in Venezuela noticed an unscheduled flight on the radar. Air traffic control then tried to make communication with the flight, and after a few minutes, a voice came over the radio, sounding confused and disoriented. The pilot then identified themselves as Pan Am Flight 914. The tower then quickly cleared a runway for the flight to land safely. As the plane landed and made its way closer to a gate, air traffic control in the towers were able to see the pilots and the confusion on their faces. They could hear the pilots trying to figure out where they were and why everything looked so different. As police and airport officials made their way towards the plane, the pilots were becoming visibly distressed. A voice then once again came over the radio tower saying that they were taking off again. Before the tower could respond, Pan Am Flight 914 made its way to the runway and took off back into the air, never to be seen again. Many believe that Pan Am Flight 914 from New York to Miami had encountered a portal in time and space, which caused the flight to time travel and reappear 37 years after its disappearance. People also believe that after they took to the air from Venezuela airport, the flight returned into the portal, causing it to never be seen again. Until this day, no evidence of the flight has ever been found. Do you believe Flight 914 really traveled through time and then vanished into thin air? Now, there are so many stories of disappearing planes and ships throughout the world, but this specific story is not true. The origin of the story actually comes from a newspaper that operated from 1979 to 2007. The newspaper was known for publishing fictional stories and is known to not be a credible source of news. That same newspaper has also published stories about a time traveler who was allegedly involved in inside trading. What's interesting about the story of Pan Am Flight 914 is that the story would go on to be published 2 more times. One in 1993, and then again in 1999. The story was published with different eyewitness photos, which only gave people all the more reason to not believe the story. Remember, you can't always believe what you hear. But this world is filled with tons of mysteries and things to be discovered. Now I want to know down below in the comments if you guys have ever heard this story before, or if this is your first time hearing this. But this story, guys, I have to say is not true. It has only been a story published in a non-credible newspaper, and there is no evidence pointing to this story being true. But again, guys, let me know down below in the comments if you guys have heard this story, and before me telling you about it and letting you guys know that it's not true, if you believe this story to be true. But alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out today's video here. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, give it a nice big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. I want to thank you guys so much for all the love and support that you guys continuously give me. There's a lot more interesting and amazing videos coming to the channel. So make sure you subscribe, then you turn on post notifications so you do not miss it. And once again guys, thank you so much for all the love, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace!